welcome back. Today we are checking in with tasting history once again. I really enjoyed the last video and I'm looking forward to watching some more. This is the fake and real history of potato chips. Personally, love potato chips, so why not? Let's learn some more about them. If you are new here, please do consider subscribing. It'd really help me out and I would very much appreciate it. Thank you. Are you ready? Let's go!
So there's a story going around on the internet that says potato chips were invented near Saratoga Springs, New York in 1853. It's even on the website of the Smithsonian, so it's gotta be true, right? Wrong. And I am going to prove it by making a recipe for potato chips from 1817.
Those look good. I know they look dark, but those look great. Oh, I bet they're like kettle cooked and like super crunch. Ooh.
36 years before the story took place. The history, both fake and real, of the potato chip. This time on Tasting History.
Yay!
So the recipe that I'm working from today to dispel the spurious claim that the potato chip was invented in 1853 comes from The Cook's Oracle, an 1817 English cookbook by Dr. William Kitchener. Now, the American term chip nor the British term crisp had come into common use yet, so he calls them potatoes fried in slices or shavings. Peel large potatoes, slice them about 1/4 inch thick, or cut them in shavings round and round as you would peel a lemon.
What? That would actually be really good too, no? Okay.
Dry them well in a clean cloth and fry them in lard or dripping.
Don't show this to Dylan.
Take care that your fat and frying pan are quite clean. Put it on a quick fire, watch it, and as soon as the lard boils and is still, put in the slices of potato and keep moving them till they are crisp. Take them up and lay them to drain on a sieve. Send them up with very little salt sprinkled over them. So he says they should be about 1/4 inch thick, which is a lot thicker than you would make a potato chip today, but nowhere near as thick as you would make like a French fry, or what they would call a chip in England. Another way that they're different from French fries is he says they should be crisp, and French fries aren't usually crisp, especially if you're in England. Frankly, they make soggy fries. So I'm curious, is
Shots fired, by the way.
this the origin of the English term crisp, meaning potato chip? I don't know. Either way, I am going to make these 1/4 inch thick and...
Oh, that's a big boy! That's a big boy! Oh, but I bet that's gonna be good. Do you think that because it's so thick, that it'll have like the crunchy outside, but still be like potato-y? Okay, this is gonna sound really stupid, but to me, potato chips don't taste potato-y. So if they're thicker, do you think that you'll actually taste kind of potato? You know what I mean?
1/8 inch thick, which is what later recipes call for from the mid to late 19th century. So for this recipe, all you need is a few potatoes, about 1 pound, and you want to use either russet potatoes or any high starch potato. That's going to work best for this. And then about 2 quarts of lard.
Oh, that's a bunch of lard. Oh, Lord.
You can use any kind of oil. He mentions lard, but you can use a different type of oil if you would prefer, but lard tastes great, so that's what I'm using.
Is it peanut oil is supposed to be like really good? I think. I don't 100% remember, but I vaguely remember hearing about frying in peanut oil.
Then just a bit of salt. So first, peel the potatoes and then slice them. You
I have
can use
one
a
of
knife for
those.
this, but you want them to be very even, so I'm going to be using a mandolin slicer. One, because that's frankly the best way to slice potatoes evenly, and two, it is something that they would have had available at the time. In fact, similar tools appear as far back as the Opera di Bartolomeo Scappi, and by the 18th century, they were pretty much what we use today. And there's actually some fake history about the mandolin slicer also circulating around the internet.
Who's spreading all this misinformation?
On some sites, you will find claims that it was invented by Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotin, famous for another slicing device.
I was about to say.
And it would be really cool.
Oh, he didn't invent it, it was named after him. Okay.
if that was true. When I first read that, I was like, oh, let this actually be a thing, but turns out it's not, or at least there is no evidence to suggest that it is, so oh well. Now this recipe is very simple. It says that you just slice the potatoes and then dry them and fry them. There is no mention of washing them or putting them in any kind of solution that will strip away some of the starch, which is the common method that is used today because it's going to allow you to leave them in the fryer longer before they get dark. But he doesn't say to do that, so I'm not doing that. So all I'm doing is slicing the potatoes and then drying them well and then heating up my fat. Now whatever fat you're using, you want to bring it up to around 365 degrees Fahrenheit or 185 Celsius before adding your potatoes. Once you've added the potatoes, they're going to bubble all about and the temperature of the oil is going to drop considerably, but that is okay. We actually want it to drop to between 240 and 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's actually where you want to keep it for most of the frying. And depending on the width of the potato slice is going to depend on how long you need to fry it. They're really, really thin. 5 to 7 minutes is fine. My quarter of an inch thick potatoes, though, they need like about 30? 15 minutes at that temperature.
I way overdid. I was thinking like fucking 30 minutes to fry a fucking potato chip. My bad.
For sure. And the thing is, you kind of have to do this a little bit to know when they're done. A lot of the bubbles will stop bubbling, but there still will be some, and it will start to darken, but you gotta kind of find that sweet spot. Also, in 1817, they wouldn't have had thermometers, so that too, just telling the temperature of the fat, that too would have had to been done just by doing it. Trial and error, baby. Now while they fry, the recipe says to keep moving them around. It doesn't need to be constant, but this will keep them from sticking and will allow them to fry more evenly.
They're already getting a decent color. Like, obviously they're still gonna go for longer, but they're already looking good.
Now, after they've had some time in that 240 to 250 range, you can raise the temperature.
Ooh, see this? Ooh, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Up to close to 300, but don't go over 300. Then keep it there for about the last 5 minutes. This will help them really crisp up and get a little bit darker. And he says that they're ready once they are crisp. It is kind of hard to tell when they are crisp, but by stirring them around, you'll start to kind of feel the potato, and once they're not given any give, then they're crisp. Then take them out and set them on a large flat sieve like the recipe says, or you can just use some paper towel laid over a cooling rack. Essentially, all you're trying to do is let any excess grease drain. After a minute or so, sprinkle with a bit of salt and toss them and let them cool to room temperature. And while they cool, make sure you are subscribed to Tasting History as we look at the fake history of potato chips.
Dude, those looked so good.
Saratoga Lake, New York, 1853. It all took place at Moon's Lake House, a fine establishment serving high-quality victuals to the muckety-mucks come up from New York City. Now, the restaurant itself was owned by a Mr. Carey Moon, but all the cooking was done by Catherine Wicks, affectionately known as Aunt Kate, and her brother, George Speck Crum. So one version of the story goes that George is back in the kitchen when a well-to-do customer, sometimes the customer is Cornelius Vanderbilt in some versions, but a well-to-do customer comes in and orders some fried potatoes, which were on the menu. George fries up the potatoes, sends them out, and the customer says, no, they need to be thinner like I had in France. Ooh la la. So George slices them thinner, sends them out again, and once again, nope. Not thin enough. Well, this goes on several times, depending on who's telling the tale, until finally George, fed up with this difficult customer, slices the potatoes so thin that you could even see through them. With thin. Then he fries them up, salts them, and sends them out to the customer, assuming that the customer would be embarrassed or upset at how silly these thin potatoes were.
And he loved them.
Well, the customer loved them, and ate the whole basket or plate or whatever they were served on, just polished them off, and thus born was the potato chip. The first problem with this story is that, as evidenced by the recipe that we're making today, they already existed, both in an English cookbook and in several American cookbooks, like the Virginia Housewife from 1824, though that one pretty much just copied word for word the English recipe, so do with that what you will. Also, there are so many variations on this story, who the customer was, exactly when it was, even who was doing the cooking, because sometimes it was Aunt Kate, his sister, who sometimes is also his sister-in-law. It's an absolute mess. Anyway, there's so much variation that it's hard to actually say what happened. Also, the first time that any of this seemed to have been talked about or written down wasn't until 30 years after it supposedly took place. This is how fake history gets spread around. All of the internet, in published publications, of course it's published, it's publication. Anyway, it gets spread around, and so you just gotta always kind of find those original sources, and if you can't find them, well, maybe something's amiss. But even though the story, as was told, probably never happened, there is some truth to it, because George Crum, who was very much a real person, was a very respected chef and later owned his own restaurant near Saratoga Springs, and he probably is the person to have either first made potato chips very, very thin, or at least he's the first person to have popularized them. This very thin style of chip became known as Saratoga chips. In 1883, Jessup Whitehead wrote in the Chicago Herald Cooking School that potatoes sliced thick are not Saratogas, though generally so called. The true chips are as thin as paper and curl up when fried. They are used cold as well as hot, and may be prepared before wanted and kept a considerable time.
All right, do you like really, really thin, crispy, like, or do you like really, really kind of thick, crunch, like, because there's a difference between crispy and crunch. You know what I mean? And I like them both, but I think I prefer crunch, dude. Like, I love really, really just thick crunch. Very, very good. I will say both are good. I just think I like crunch a little bit more.
And by the end of the 19th century, this style of chip was very much associated with George Crum and his restaurant. Not to dine at Crum's at the lake is to be out of the world and out of the fashion. Crum has owned the place for 10 years and has made a big success of it, and there first appeared to a waiting, hungry world the delectable morsels known as Saratoga chips. These Saratoga chips were incredibly popular, and by the late 19th century, there were recipes in many, many American cookbooks for them, and they were actually selling Saratoga chip slicers specially designed for slicing Saratoga chips, except that they weren't. They were actually just regular potato slicers, but they would say that they were specially designed for Saratoga chips because it sold more slicers. Then in 1895, William Tappenden of Ohio began boxing up the chips and selling them to stores. The only problem with that is that the chips would go stale rather quickly, the merest bit of humidity, and the chips are no longer crisp. Now, the solution to that came in 1926, when a California woman named Laura Scudder, famous now for her peanut butter, she debuted a bag of wax paper that could be filled with chips and then sealed. She even put a date of not expiration but of freshness on the bag, letting you know how long they would be nice and crisp. And she marketed them as Laura Scudder's potato chips.
The noisiest chips in the world? Wait, that's brilliant. Actually, I would eat that. I'm looking for chips as a crunch connoisseur. If a bag of chips said the noisiest chips, I'm probably picking that one.
The noisiest chips in the world. And around this time, across the pond in England, where instead of chips they had taken on the name crisps, the Smith's Potato Crisps Company began selling the chips in grease-proof paper bags all over London. And with the bag of potato chips came a little sachet of salt so you could flavor the chips yourself. And that pretty much was the only flavor added to potato chips for the longest time. And it would take someone who really understood potatoes to take the chip to the next level in flavor. And of course, it would take an Irishman to do so.
Yay!
In 1954, a man named Seamus was working for the Tato Irish Crisp Company, and under the direction of the owner, Joe Spud Murphy, they debuted a cheese and onion flavored chip. they took off and became wildly popular. Other companies started getting in on the game. Very soon, the flavor was followed by salt and vinegar, but in America, it was actually sour cream and onion and barbecue that became popular.
Yeah.
Now, the main issue with these crisps or chips was that in the bag, they were so thin that they would often break up, and so you'd open the bag and really there'd just be a bunch of crumbs.
Is this where we start adding more and more fucking air to the bags? It's where we get to fucking modern day where half your bag is fucking air. Is that the start of this bullshit?
And then two companies decided to address this issue. The first was in the 1950s with the corrugated potato chip, better known today as Ruffles. Ruffles have ridges. Does anyone else remember those commercials? It was like late 80s, early 90s. I'm dating myself. Well, it's because of those ridges that the chips had more structural integrity and so were less prone to breakage. The other solution came in 1956 when a chemist from Procter & Gamble decided to come up with a chip that was uniform in shape, a saddle-shaped chip that could then be stacked and put in a cylinder and sealed. The only issue was that the process of making this uniform chip was that it tasted terrible. And so it didn't go anywhere for quite some time. It took about a decade for them to revisit this idea, and when they did, they retooled the recipe and came up with Pringles newfangled potato chips. But really, they weren't potato chips because they were actually made of a potato-based dough that was then molded into the shape of chips. And so the other big chip companies got together and put the squeeze on them, or instead they called the FDA, and the FDA said, yeah, actually, we need you to call them potato chips made from dried potatoes.
Yeah, because that's false in calling something what it isn't, because potato chips, especially up to this point, are sliced potatoes, and that's not what this is.
Well, that isn't very catchy and probably wouldn't even fit on the can, so they decided to follow the British lead and call them potato crisps instead, though most people today just call them Pringles. Now, there was one other way that they stopped chips from breaking up in the bag, and that was to add air to the bag, which is why now, when you open a bag of chips, it's only like a third full, and that just makes me frustrated. So I don't quite understand why they didn't just start making them thicker like the ones today that I'm making. But it turns out that they did, because kettle chips started to come back in the 80s and 90s, and they are thicker and made by taking the potatoes and putting them into a kettle of oil and frying them, and they don't break as easily.
And they're fucking delicious!
So even though they do take quite a bit longer to fry, I am looking forward to my unbreakable potato chips from 1817. And here we are.
Oh, that looks amazing! Oh, I want it. I want it.
First recipe for potato chips. All right, so I've got the 1/4 inch thick and the 1/8 of an inch thick. Honestly, not a huge difference.
Kinda tell.
In how thick they are, it looks like. These curled up a little bit more, the 1/8 of an inch thick ones, and according to sources from the 19th century, the thinner they are, the more they will curl. But the color is pretty uniform. Let's start with that 1/4 inch thick one.
Oh, I want some crunch, dude. Give me some crunch. Oh,
Crunchy.
oh, give me more. Give me more.
I'm actually kind of surprised. So I gotta say, the flavor is so superior to a regular potato chip. And I love potato chips, but...
Am I gonna be right? I said at the beginning that I wonder if it's going to actually taste like a potato because it's so thick.
You just get so much more potato.
I'm right! What? Let's go! I mean, I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but I'm taking the win.
It really tastes like just mashed potatoes
Yes!
and lard.
Nice!
Essentially, that's what it is. But really, really good. And they're not greasy. I thought they would be because of the thickness, that they would kind of absorb it. But let's try the thinner one. Eighth of an inch. Here we go.
Oh, a higher pitch crunch.
Even crunchier. Mm-hmm. And maybe a better flavor. There's almost a hint of, it's not burning, it's...
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That Maillard reaction that kind of...
Because it's... Sorry, that's an unflattering frame. Because they're so dark, right? I assume. And I think it is kind of a burnt taste, but it's not an overpowering burn, probably. Because this is almost, if not probably considered overcooked, but it looks great.
Kind of gives that really savoriness to it and kind of elevates the flavor. So it's not just potato and oil, it's a new flavor. But again, this is a lot more flavorful than your average potato chip that you would get today.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why kettle chips have really made a comeback, because
yes,
they do taste better. The only problem with kettle chips is that because they're more sturdy and they don't break as easily, they always cut the inside of my mouth, like the roof of my mouth.
Oh no!
I'll eat a bag of kettle chips and regret it for the next 48 hours.
Are you guys like that? They don't cut up my mouth, but maybe I'm just built different.
But while I'm doing it, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah. Sounds really good.
So since we talked about some fake history here on the show today, I wanted to show you this book. It is called Fake History, 101 Things That Never Happened, by the Fake History Hunter on Twitter. I follow her. She's fantastic. She's always
That's so
talking
cool.
about like picking fights with people who are posting fake history online. She's great. And in this, not only does she attack some of the most common fake history memes and things that are floating around on the internet, but then she goes in and debunks it and tells you why it's debunked and what are the original sources. Where are the original sources if there are none? You know, she really does her research. It's fascinating, and she tells you how you can approach fake history as well. If it's not in this book,
so cool.
then you can kind of debunk things on your own or confirm them, because there's a lot of real history out there as well. So yeah, try the book, try the chips, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Thank you. That was so cool, dude. Fuck, now I want to make freaking potato chips. God damn it. Okay, all right. I'm honestly very, very pleased that I had the right idea going into this, that the thicker ones would taste much more like potato, and honestly, now I just really, really want to try making my own. I don't know how well it would go, but I'm really, really interested in trying it out. Please make sure that you check out the original video. It's going to be linked down below. If you liked my video, make sure that you like and subscribe so I can see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye!